Well, my name's Lisa, and I too hate cancer. 6 years ago, my life was perfect. I had a loving husband, successful business, new home, and a sweet baby boy to add to my two already perfect girls. And then, like many of you, there was the day that everything changed. My firstborn, my greatest love, Savannah, was diagnosed with an almost unheard of tumor on her heart. Our world turned upside down. Why had this happened? Savannah had been a full-term, actually quite large, healthy, bouncing baby with no childhood health issues or problems, no complications during birth. I had never smoked, never done drugs, barely drank, runner, avid exerciser, and mostly ate a vegetarian diet. I mean, tons of fruits and vegetables. And that's actually how I fed Savannah. So I thought actually I was doing everything to prevent cancer, both in myself and my children. So why had this happened? There was no genetic involvement. So it really led me to question the environment and the daily bombardment of toxins that her little developing body really had to deal with on a daily basis, and possibly even through this diet that I thought was so healthy for her. So yeah, she ate lots and lots of fruits and vegetables. And so she was receiving what I thought was optimal nutrition. At the time, we knew very little about organics, even where to get it. My husband and I had started a new business, so prioritizing our spending, didn't really add that into the equation. And sadly, I always had confidence that our government would protect us and never allow anything dangerous or that can harm us into our food systems. So Savannah was ingesting tons and tons of strawberries, but also countless pesticides as well. So her tumor was successfully removed with microscopically clean margins, but she did have a sarcoma, and with the cornerstone for sarcoma treatment being really wide margins, at least 2-inch margins, and radiation, which was not really an option for us because it was on her heart. We were facing an uphill battle really from the start. But nonetheless, we were thrilled with the outcome, we were filled with positive energy, and we moved forward. Sadly, the surgery that had hopefully almost saved her life almost took it as well. Unknowingly, the surgeons had torn her esophagus and did not diagnose it for almost a week. So, of course, once it was diagnosed, she needed to have emergency surgery that day, where she had excruciatingly painful chest tubes inserted to drain all the infection out, as well as a stomach tube to now feed her from a bag of food for 18 hours a day. So the most devastating result of that was that she could no longer eat or drink anything by mouth. In addition to that, we had to postpone any type of chemo or treatment for her. And yet, she never complained. The child found a way, to really smile through everything. That is, of course, unless the doctors came in to see her. That was a different story. But we didn't have a lot of options in the liquid foods that that worked with these pumps in her. And it, just from my own background, which was very limited, it made me sick to my stomach when I would pour these cans into these bags, and all the ingredients were milks and sugars and oils and only synthetic nutrients, nothing from a whole base source. So my entire goal became to cleanse her body and to provide her only with the most healing of foods, because I do believe that foods can heal us. I actually began to take cooking classes from a macrobiotic chef, and she was the one who first told me a lot about the benefits of an organic diet. In fact, her mentor is a woman who has written a book. Her name is Nina Dovich, and she was, back in the 80s, given 2 months to live with ovarian cancer. It had spread to her lymph nodes, and she decided to forego chemo. Not that that's certainly what I would recommend, but she completely changed her complete diet and lifestyle to a macrobiotic diet. And over 20 years later was there to mentor me and my chef. So, I will never forget the day that, the very first day that we pumped our own homemade Whole Foods soup, mush, whatever you want to call it, into Savannah. And it was really scary because it got stuck in the tube, it clogged the machine, Savannah was scared, I was sweating. It was a rough go, but we kept at it. And the very next morning, and I swear, no matter how many times I read this and practiced it, I got choked up every time I said it. She woke up, she sat up and smiled at me and said, "Mommy, this is the first day I've woken up not coughing." And from that day forward, our lives were filled with fresh, organic, seasonal food, and Savannah's quality of life, no matter how bad it had been, continued to improve. And she was actually just as excited as I was to learn about the healthy, organic food, and she was actually at her happiest when she was cooking. She'd spend hours in the kitchen. She was my best garlic chopper. I mean, I have countless pictures of her sitting there chopping and, just really enjoying herself and beginning a love with food. In fact, she would cook and create and come up with these recipes and these foods that everyone else could enjoy but her, because she still couldn't eat. But that esophagus did heal with all of these healthy healing foods. And she completed her year-long course of strong chemotherapy, remaining cancer-free. Throughout this time, especially when she couldn't eat, she really became interested in understanding the benefits of food, or understanding foods and how sometimes they can be helpful and sometimes they can be harmful. In fact, one day, she spent a lot of time in bed watching TV, and one day she said to me, "Mommy, how come they never advertise healthy foods on TV?" And I said, "That's a good question." So she decided, a very thoughtful girl, and in combination with the fact that she loved all living creatures. I mean, she'd make me shoo a spider out of the house instead, couldn't wait till she went to bed, stomp them all, but she, after giving a lot of thought to everything in her life, she decided that she wanted to be an organic farmer when she grew up. And she wanted to be able to impact the whole world in a positive way, especially children, and find a way to provide everyone with affordable, healthy, organic food. And she was only 7. So, she was in remission for 17 months, and while her cancer never spread, it did indeed return in the same spot in December 2006. Now, we might not have cured her cancer, but I truly believe that we helped not only improve her quality of life, but also by strengthening her immune system and really enabling her to successfully fight so many infections and so many setbacks. I mean, she was one of those gals that the doctors would even tell me, "Gosh, of all the bad things could happen, this is the worst. It was always the worst one we got. Why us? And yet, she always got through 'em. I believe we were able to keep her with us longer. Well, this time surgery wasn't an option, but a last-ditch effort with a new chemotherapy was. Savannah never knew she had cancer. She was young enough where we could make that choice to allow her to live with hope and not as much fear. We took that on as her parents, and we wanted her to have these goals. There should be hope in every day for all of us. Yet she knew what chemo meant. She knew what it entailed, what it did to her. And we decided to give her the option of whether or not she wanted to continue. So we took her to lunch, and we explained to her that, the doctors really thought that another set of chemo would be good for her owie that she had, but we understood, and she didn't want to continue. And she put her head down for a minute, and she looked up at us, and she said that she would do the chemo if her dad and I promised her that we would get her ranch going. Well, we promised. And so here we are, and we began the Savannah's Organic Ranch Foundation, which you heard a little bit about, and I've actually left you with some bags on, and I have business cards, and you can certainly find out a little more about our mission later. Now, I'll never know if I had made organic choices earlier in Savannah's life, if she'd still be here, but I do know I'm never going to take the chance again. And I'm simply here to share with you guys what I've learned along the way. So, like I said, I don't have the slides, and some of this information I might read to you because it's statistics and all that fun stuff, but if you guys can stay awake through it with me, hopefully you'll have some ideas of why organic might be something you would consider bringing into your life. Okay, so since my time's limited, I'm just going to give you a really broad overview. And like I said, you'll have some more resources where you can further look into more of the data.